Hi, everyone. I'm Jack Murphy here with our guest tonight, Francis Villanueva. Francis is the author of the new book, Tiradores, which is about the Filipino Light Reaction Regiment. I'm almost done with the book. I'm like right at the climax of the book. A very important sniper shot. Three snipers shoot at HVT number one while he's on the dock and take him out. It's just an incredible story. And I was able to meet with the LOR members when I was in the Philippines in 2017. Francis and I, we know quite a few of the same people. So I was so happy to see that he wrote this book because this unit is, it's not very well known. It's not very well known anywhere because when this unit is so secretive, they're like the Filipino version of Delta Force. When they do operations, it gets credited to other units, and they'll say, "Oh, it's the Scout Rangers, it was the Special Force." It'll say anything but them. So very few people know about how important this unit is and how gutsy some of the operations they've conducted are. So we're going to talk all about the book. We're going to talk all about this unit. And I'm very excited about that. I just wanted to give you guys a quick word, a status update about my co-host Dave, who isn't here today. I think all of you know at this point that Dave got attacked on the subway pretty badly, fractured skull, and all kinds of injuries. He was critical in the hospital for a little while. But thankfully, he's okay now. He's all right. He's at home. But because he took so many blows to the head, he has trouble concentrating. Like he really wants to be here, and he feels actually bad that he's not here. Like he's selling you guys short because he's really touched by how generous and caring all of you have been to him. He's really touched by that. And so he wants to be here, but it's just he needs time to recuperate and heal. And he'll be back as soon as he can. And I'm going to see him tomorrow, and we're going to make a short video. He just wants to have a few words for you guys, in gratitude for everything you've done for him. So without further ado, welcome to episode, I think this is episode 56, with our guest, Francis. Thank you, Francis.
Yeah, Jack, thank you so much for inviting me. It's a real privilege to be here and to promote the book.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like it was a privilege to meet the LRR, and it was a privilege to read your book. And just again, I'm so glad that you were able to give credit where credit is due. I was wondering, just to give people a taste of what this unit is, what they're all about. If you could tell us the story about the Trojan horse mission that they did, where well, I'll let you tell the story.
So you want me to tell the whole story? It might spoil the the book, the chapter 1 and I think chapter 8.
You go ahead and tell us the parts that you think people need to know about.
Okay. So the mission was about a high value target in Sulu back in 2014. So LRR, specifically first LRC or Light Reaction Company, received an intelligence packet. At that time, they were supposed to go back to Fort Magsaysay for their regular retraining. So they were done with their deployment cycle. So it was time for them to go back. But before as they were about to leave, if I can recall, they received I think a warning, and they had to attend the briefing. So during the briefing, they received this intelligence packet. It's about a very very elusive high value target in Sulu, and according to the intel packet, the location was really surrounded by residents loyal to this target. So it was critical for them to approach the location undetected. So the priority for them was stealth. It was not about speed. So they could not use the the usual choppers. So they really had to approach it by stealth. So what they did, what first LRC did, they decided to come up with a small team, that would enter the area and take out that target. So they devise a scheme, no, specifically, no, they decided to disguise themselves as locals, no, and in addition to that, they also had to disguise the vehicles they were going to use, because I think that area, there were only limited types of vehicles, no. It's a one of the municipalities in Sulu. I don't know if it's a what class, third, second, or first, but the vehicles are very limited in type. So they had to use this specific vehicle that would disguise their approach. No, so they in short they disguise themselves and they disguise the vehicles. Okay, uh, so what they did, they bought some. I think they bought some clothes from the flea market and they use it to disguise themselves. What's funny here is what's very particular here was that one of the support gunner for this mission, no, he was carrying a mini me. No, he was carrying a mini me. So they had to conceal that. So what they did, they dressed up this guy as a pregnant woman. Okay. So all of them wore low profile plate carriers. Uh, they refused to wear helmets, no, and they had to conceal everything. They had to conceal everything. So they were able to. I think the big help here was the asset, no, the intelligence. The asset was able to pinpoint. He was able to pinpoint the exact location of the target, the exact time. That's why first LRC was able to pull out this mission. No? The timing was really perfect. No, and they were able to approach the target to the point that the target even waved at them. Even the target even waved at them, thinking that they were locals about to attend a pre-nuptial ceremony for a wedding. So the disguise really worked for them, no? And they were able to take down the target. And unfortunately, one of them perished during that mission, no. And I was also told that that intelligence asset that provide them those critical information was killed maybe 2 months after. I think
Oh, really? I didn't
he
know that.
got caught. He got caught. It's in the end notes of the book. No, he got caught, and I mean that's part of their job. No, their sacrifices, and you will see here though that the type of mission LRR strained to undertake. No, really covert. The orders would come from the sometimes no national command authority. That's why people compare them with CAG, with Delta Force, because of the nature of their mission. No, very similar. No, takedown of high value targets, uh, uh, interdictions, close target reconnaissance, all those stuff. Really covert. And as what you said, no, most of their missions are usually credited to other, not only military units but also police units. No, as I think there were two missions in the book that I told about those missions being credited to the police. No?
And that, yeah, that mission with a fake wedding procession, if you try to Google it, all that comes up is that it's like some sort of police operation. Like
Yeah,
there's
in the
nothing about
news.
the Light Reaction Regiment in there at all.
Exactly.
So, Francis, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to write a book about a top secret unit? How does that happen?
Well, it's well about myself. No, I'm a lawyer by profession. I've been a lawyer for 20 years, and I used to be also a professional musician a long time ago, and first time author. And my book started. No, I think the motivation behind the book started back in 2014 when I was with a I was with the group. No, we formed the group, And the purpose of this group was to provide the military, you know, a realistic force on force training. So using airsoft. So that was our group before, no. So fortunately, LR took notice of us, and in one of the training exercises of their counter-terrorist class, no, I think it was class 14. We were tapped to act as bad guys, no. We were tapped to act as role players, and after that, I think they liked the concept. So we became the regular bad guys and rabbits, not only of counter-terrorist classes, no, but also of the regular operational companies of LRR. So it went through from 2014 until 2016. So during that span, we went through several training deployments with them, and we the concept, I think, gave them a different look, no, on how to train their troops realistically, using vetted civilians as role players and bad guys. So because of that, I think my proximity with the unit, no, I became close to I became friends with most of them, and I became close to some of them. And I think this gave me that this planted in me that desire to somehow give something back for the unit. They have done so much for the country. They have sacrificed so much for the country, and I wanted to give something long lasting. And I think the book gave me that opportunity to give the troops something really that will last even beyond their lifetime, no? Which they can pass on to their children, their grandchildren. This through their stories, no? The stories of the unit.
Absolutely, Francis. And I think it absolutely accomplishes that. And speaking from an American perspective, I hope that more people here will read the book as well, because this is a challenging political time, both for the United States and for the Philippines, and
Yes,
sometimes
yes.
our relationship between our country is called into question.
Yes,
But I
yes.
think I think people should understand that the military relationship between America and the Philippines is unbreakable,
Correct,
and, and
correct.
and we really have some very good partners and strong friends in the Philippines. And
Exactly.
I think when you read your book and you really take full measure of the dedication and the professionalism and the sacrifice that this unit has made, I mean, it really comes through.
Yes, yes, precisely.
So let's kind of start at the beginning then. Could you talk to us about how the LRR came to be created? How did this come about? What was the situation at the time in the Philippines that led to the rise of this new unit?
Okay. So LRR started back in back in year 2000, no? The first Light Reaction Company. It was formed to address several hostage crises, no. The hostage crisis in Sipadan in Malaysia, that the dive resort in Malaysia, that was in 2000. I think that became the trigger point, no, to start up this city unit, no. So back in 2000, there was this airborne class, basic airborne class 87. And uh, so the man behind the creation of LRR is really Ted Llamas and Major Shevert, no. Those are the two guys, no, locally. Their counterpart in the States was Colonel Joe Felter. No, he used
Mhm.
to be I think an assistant secretary in the DOD, something. No, so the idea originated from Joe Felter. No, and he tapped his local counterpart, and then they came up with this concept of forming a dedicated city unit. No, this city, that basic airborne class became the template for the city unit. So because that airborne class consists of you had their SF qualified, you had Ranger qualified. So the idea there was to combine both, Ranger and SF in one unit in order to make them cohesive. So it became the template. So after finishing their airborne class, I think in December, they were deployed several times now. Before that, they were deployed several times. And before the start of the counter-terrorist formal training, no, they had this selection, and after narrowing it down, they came up with the final list of those who will undergo the city program, city grant from the State Department through the through the First Special Forces Group. So that was the procedure. So by I think by by March 2001, the mobile training team from FSG started arriving, to start the training. So the Philippine side, Colonel Llamas and Major Shevert came up with the POI, the instruction and the selection, and then when the SFG first SFG guys came, they brought with them all brand new weapons, brand new nods, brand new everything. So they started their training. I think their training lasted for, if I'm not mistaken, 5 months or more. So the name LRC was given by the commanding general before of Philippine SOCOM, no? General Santiago. So according to Sir Ted Llamas, the name probably came from a unit General Santiago used to lead back in the 70s, no? Because General Santiago was part of the Philippine police that time, no? And the police and military that time were like, at that time the police was not a civilian organization. So it was like part of the military organization.
And,
no?
and there's a history of coups also that played into the
Yes,
political situation.
yes, definitely. In fact, that LRC before they started their training, they were deployed to Manila as part of the quick reaction force during the impeachment trial of of former President Estrada. So they were part of that quick reaction force now before their actual training. So when the political situation settled in the Philippines, early 2001, they went back to Fort Magsaysay to begin their training. So so the training lasted for, as I said, five months or even more. Then after that, they deployed to Basilan. This one, they were deployed there to help in the rescue of Gracia Burnham.
Mm-hmm.
They were deployed. Yes, they were deployed to that area, and they had several missions there. And according to the to the advisors, no, the special forces advisors, they saw some tweaks needed, no, because at the time it was only a lone company, no, there was no command structure, so it became a problem for LRC, no, because
And
commanders did not
for,
know. Yes.
well,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry to interrupt, Francis. Just for people who are watching the show, if you're interested, if you go back into previous episodes, we did one with CIA officer Kent Clisby and another one with CIA officer Ron Moeller. And they were both in the Philippines during during these operations we're talking about right now. So if you're looking for more information, you could also go back and consult those. But
Yes.
go ahead, Francis. Thank you.
Okay, so the SF advisors noticed this deficiencies. No, there was no command structure. So the commanders, no, the area commanders didn't know how to utilize properly LRC. No, I even mentioned in the book that according to the first commander, no, Bulldog, they were even used as blocking force. Imagine, no, the top counter-terrorist units using as a blocking force to support an operation. So there was really a misallocation of forces during the time. No? So that's why after the deployment in Basilan, the SF advisors went home, and they came up with they came this time with a plan to really form uh, a command structure, no, which will include the addition of two companies and a headquarters company for the to form a battalion. But unfortunately, September 11 took place, so there was a brief lull in that, no, and so I think they came back in 2002 to start the training of this time, no, the 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 offer of U.S. government was more intense because of that Operation Enduring Freedom, and they really funded the training and the acquisition of equipment for these two companies.
I'm just throwing up a few pictures there so people can kind of get the idea.
Yes, yes,
And here they are doing some blue barrel training with some munitions. So
yes, yes.
I guess that was your contribution there, Francis, was
Yeah,
the
yeah.
force on force training.
Yes, yes, yes. No, but they've been using that for simulation. They've been using it for, I think from the start, since
Mm-hmm,
2001
mm-hmm.
or 2000, early 2000. They've been using that. But unfortunately, that training is very expensive. No, the cost of you have to rebarrel, you have to change the barrel of all rifles. No, and I think no, the cost is very prohibitive. No, for in the Philippine setting. So that's why we offer an alternative to that. No, the best
And
alternative.
I think also at this point we should point out that there was the LRC, the Light Reaction Company, starting off, and
Mm.
then just like we went through these growing pains in America too, figuring out how to structure these units. The LRC became the LRB, the Light Reaction Battalion, and
Yes, yes, yes,
the Light Reaction Regiment.
yes. Correct, correct.
So they've scaled up just the way we had to with our Ranger battalions, with our Delta squadrons. We
Mm.
kind of figured out that we needed a certain number of troops to be sustainable.
Exactly, exactly. Same with the Philippines. So when after they finished the training, the three LRCs, they immediately came up with the battalion. No? Then after Zamboanga Siege, the president then, President Aquino, realized that they had to scale up again the battalion because they saw how effective the unit. No,
Mhm.
in fact, it was LRB that really spearheaded the Zamboanga Siege. No, they were the main effort in the Zamboanga Siege. No, so they realized the value of scaling up the size of the battalion. So now they're a regiment now.
And what was the mission of this unit? I mean, I think we talked a little bit about the idea, but I mean, specifically, were they designed for hostage rescue, for counterterrorism? What was the thought process that went into that?
Well, primarily hostage rescue, and counterterrorism. That's the. I mean, we always associate counterterrorism and hostage rescue in uh in one. No? So I think that was the thought process. No, they were primarily, or they are primarily the hostage rescue unit. No.
Hold on, I'm going to throw up a picture here of Mr. Yamas, Colonel Yamas,
Yeah, Colonel Llamas.
now retired.
Yes, yes.
Uh,
Ted Llamas.
Ted is such a nice guy. I met him in Manila at a
Mhm,
Chili's. I'm
mhm.
so sorry I have no class. I invited him to Chili's, and we had some San Migs there. And
Uh,
I was really impressed with how smart and professional Ted was, and he just seemed like all around a nice guy. Like, he seems like the type of guy I would want to serve under in the
mm,
military.
mm, mm.
And then after, it was very interesting because it wasn't until after our meeting, when I met with some of the junior officers that served under
Mm.
him, that I
Yeah.
started to hear about the other side of Ted, the guy who was just like leading from the front, a real combat leader in the thick of it. just incredible stuff. I really have a lot of respect for Ted. I mean, he's a really good guy.
Yeah, so Ted is a very articulate and a very
Mhm.
intelligent man, no? And I owe a lot to him, no, because when I was writing the history of LRR, that's when I met Ted Llamas, no, when I was starting to write chapter 3, I think, of the book, no. So I was introduced to him, and he told me a lot of things about the history, the nuances of creating LRC, and the things they went through, no. And one thing I remember uh, he told me to write the book with integrity. I won't forget that. He told me, don't sugarcoat the stories. You tell it the best way you can. Make sure you should write it with integrity.
Yeah, no, that doesn't surprise me. You know, coming from Ted.
Yes, yes.
Um, so what were then some of the operations that before we get into the Zamboanga siege? And these are the two big ones that we'll probably end up talking about is
Mhm.
Zamboanga and Marawi.
Yes.
But before that, what were some of the other missions that the LRR or LRC or LRB, depending on the time period, what were some of
Mm.
the types of missions that they were getting that were coming down to them?
Well, there were a lot, no. Actually, I only included the missions from in the book, no, from 2009 up to 2017, because the rest below 2009, we couldn't find any more the records of that, no. Probably destroyed, no, because they were all on paper, no, in back in JSOG, no. So when I was trying to do my research, no, I was told that I couldn't find any more the
Wow.
materials, no. Yeah, but I heard a lot of stories during those periods, no. But I couldn't write it because there was no reference, no. I had to rely on stories. So I picked only the stories with reference materials that I could still use. So most of the missions during before Zamboanga, they were all like green missions, no, jungle type, no,
Mhm.
in the mountains of Sulu. You had their Maguindanao, Cotabato, mostly in Mindanao, and all this involved direct action missions, no, raid, uh, interdiction of high value targets. There was one mission, no, where when they had to capture a target at the Davao airport. It was never reported in the media, but I heard about that story. A four-man team captured the target in the Davao International Airport, and they whisked him out. I don't know, they brought him somewhere.
He
So
was
that
trying to leave the country.
uh, no, no, I think he was trying to go somewhere else, but he was a finance guy of this group, no. So very high value target. They were able to zero in on him, and then they while walking at the airport, they just grabbed him and brought him out. So that's one of the story that I didn't include in the book. So
It,
yeah, go ahead, Jack. Go ahead.
Oh, I know. I was just going to say it would be an entirely other podcast to talk about the geopolitics of the Philippines and all the different threat groups that the Filipino military and police forces face.
Oh
But
yes, yes.
I think it is worth pointing out that there are numerous threat groups, and you're talking about a archipelago nation that is oftentimes both jungle and mountainous at the same time. And then you have
7,000 islands. Yeah.
so think about how difficult it is for these guys to operate in this environment and to get into these areas where they need to work in a covert or clandestine manner. Very, very difficult.
Yes, yes, yes. Especially now, no, with the all the social media, the access there. So it's very hard to move without being, without being seen. So it's a real challenge for them now. But I think they're still. I know they're still doing it. We don't know about it, but they're still doing it in Metro Manila, and they're just there.
Absolutely. So let's get into the Zamboanga siege, which was kind of a watershed moment for not just for the LRR, but really for AFP in general, wasn't it?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Correct. that was the first uh, major urban operation, I think, after World War II, after the Second World War. And during the Second World War, there was still no AFP. So I think this was the first uh, major urban battle of the entire AFP, the Zamboanga.
So can you tell us, how, lay that situation out, how that unfolded? Because it was what, a rogue MNLF faction that staged that. And the first, as I understood it, there was an intel report that there was like an armada of boats, of pump boats heading to Zamboanga, and NAVSOG tried to interdict them to go see what was going on, and they received fire. One of them got killed. I remember I spoke to the guy who was the bullfrog at the time,
Mm-hmm.
Ben Rubin, really nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
And one of his men was killed in that altercation. And then they
Mm-hmm.
realized, oh, wow, this intel is accurate. I mean, could you give us, from your research and your perspective, what you uncovered and how that battle began?
Well, the battle took place in September, no, I think second week of September up to the last week. But it started way before that. I mean, the issue there was during that time, the administration then, or the Aquino administration, they were about to sign a peace agreement with the MILF. Okay, that's the opposite of MNLF, no. So this is another secessionist group, MILF. So I think that pissed off Normiswari, the head of MNLF. So it really pissed him off because he had a standing peace agreement with the government during the Ramos administration, President Ramos, no. So it really picked him off that they started. I think there was they applied for a permit with the mayor of Zamboanga if they could march like a peaceful rally, peaceful caravan from another place in Mindanao, and they will bring it all the way to Zamboanga. But because of Zamboanga's experience, no, back in 2001, the same group, no, MLLF, did another like a peaceful caravan, and then they took civilian as hostages, no. So Mayor Bing, no, the mayor of Zamboanga, he refused to give the MNLF permit to mount a peace caravan. So I think it started there, and then slowly, even before that Navsog incident, they were slowly inserting. For several months, they've been inserting, the rogue element, no, by batches. No, they brought in their weapons, of course, discreetly, no. The one that was encountered by Navsog, I think that was the last batch.
Mhm.
Even before that, they were already in place in Zamboanga.
And so the hostilities kicked off with that altercation at sea.
Yes, yes, yes. And then they started marching from there. They started marching towards the city hall, no, the seat of government,
Mhm.
and the police and I think marine units were able to to block the group, no. And fortunately, second LRC was at the area during the time. They were at Zamboanga. They were deployed there, so they were among the first responders. No, second LRC. So they did some ad hoc counter sniping operations there. Even when the rest of the AEP was still waiting for the O plan from the or go signal from the government.
And you write in some there are some interesting moments where the LRCs and even I think some of the American personnel who are down there at, what is it, Westmincon, kind of
Yeah, yeah.
had to do some ad hoc things that maybe they weren't quite authorized to do just yet, but
Actually, they were authorized, no, but no, no. Are you referring to that ISR?
yeah, flying force protection.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I think I think they found the loophole in
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah. No, they
in
did
the
the right thing. They did.
yeah, they did the right thing. They because West Mincom, no, the US advisors were there, no, and the battle area was very near, so
Mhm.
they had the reason to send their ISR assets, no, to protect actually the Camp Navarro. So it was still within their mandate. No, others would say no, because at the time US was focused on ASG, Abu Sayyaf group.
Mhm.
So MNLF was not in their crossfire during that time. So it was, to some, it was going out of their mandate, but actually it was within their mandate to protect, no, as force protection, to protect the camp where they were staying. So it was all good.
So how did the battle begin to unfold? Because at the time there was only 3 LRCs. Is that
Yes,
right?
yes, 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 yes.
So what did you say? Was it first
Second,
LRC or second? Okay,
second,
second was already there.
second LRC was there. So it started September 9, and the next day, first LRC and third LRC was at Fort Magsaysay during their doing their retraining, no. So I think they were just about to start, or they were about to finish the retraining. Then first LRC, half of first LRC was in Camp Aguinaldo, Manila, as the QRF, and the other half was in Davao, the other half of first LRC. So the next day they got the war, so they started moving to Zamboanga, and during that time, uh, second LRC was the lone, was the vanguard, protecting actually the area, stopping the MNLF from moving forward.
Okay. And then what, they had to fly the other LRCs in from Fort Magsaysay?
No, three only. One in Fort Magsaysay, the third LRC. So after 2 days, they all arrived in Zamboanga City, and then they started planning there, no. But this was
Okay.
before the official plan of the government, no, because at that time they were still undecided what to do, no, how to handle, no, this type of crisis. It was the first time, and fortunately for the Philippines, we had the group of Dan Pamonag, General Pamonag.
General Pamonag.
Yeah,
No,
during the time he was the head of JSOC during that time. So I think he was able to come up with a concept, no, that was eventually approved by the president, but the elders were already deployed forward.
and I should point out that JSOG is the Philippine version of JSOC. And General Pamonag is a very important figure for the Filipino military because he started SOCOM, which was, the 3 units we've been talking about, the LRR. There's also the Scout Rangers, and there's also Special Forces. And General Pamonag was a big part. And correct me if I'm wrong here, Francis, bringing them together as one.
Well, when SOCOM was formed, I think General Pamonag was. I think I'm not sure if he was part of that, but that was way back, probably.
Right.
SOCOM was formed, I think, late 90s, probably. In late 90s. It was formed late 90s or early 2000. So I'm not sure if I'm not pretty sure if Pamonag was there, but definitely Ted Llamas was already the G8. I think he was the G8 of SOCOM, while his counterpart, the G3 Chevert, the one who was part in the formation of LRC, they were part of SOCOM during that time.
And so how did that pan out when General Pamonag and Colonel Llamas, they get on the ground in Zamboanga? How does the battle begin to unfold?
Well, they divided the Zamboanga in they divided the area in several what do you call it,
Sectors.
several sectors. Yeah, they divided in several sectors, and wait, I have to refresh my memory. There were several task groups. No, you had there the JSOG component. No, that's one task group under said Ted Llamas. You have there the 3 LRCs. You have their support NAVSOG and the forward air controllers of the Philippine Air Force. Those were the JSOG components. And then you have their separate sector, the component of Rangers, no? I forgot what battalion, but there were Rangers there. They had their own sectors, and finally you have there the you also have there had there the the regular infantry mechanized units. No, you also had there the Air Force components. So the ground conflict actually started around September 13, I think, or 12, when LRC when first and third LRC started deploying. No, so they had their own sectors, and Zamboanga can be the Zamboanga siege can be divided into several skirmishes. No, there were multiple skirmishes. So multiple skirmishes in several areas, several sectors. That's how to best describe the Zamboanga siege.
And this was a different type of combat than these units, especially the LRR was trained as a counterterrorism unit, but now they're in combat. Like you had alluded to World War II before. I mean, it was more of that style of like a Stalingrad or a battle in Berlin or Paris or some crazy, just absolute combat. They were, this was not a SWAT team mission. They were really in the
No,
thick of
no.
it. Right.
Yes, yes. It was a multiple direct action missions, no.
With
And
hostages.
yes, with hostages in the middle, no, around 200 hostages, I think, 194, 96. Uh, the biggest problem encountered here by LRR, no, one of the biggest obstacles I think was the lack of manpower, because at the time, no, the three LRCs, no, I think they only had half strength of a company. No, each LRC, example, you have 60 operators per one company. At that time, they're only operating at half capacity. The three LRCs are so probably 30 operators per company. So that was one of their like major obstacles there. Another thing was, the tactics. No, they had to revise the tactics.
Right.
They had to adapt to the tactics employed by the rogue element of the MNLF. No, I think they got it from the tactics in Iraq, in Fallujah. They applied those tactics there in Zamboanga. So LRCs had to adapt on the fly. No, they had to adapt.
and and part of this was, I don't want to say a failure, maybe that's the wrong word, but I think part of it was that the American Special Forces trained them specifically for counterterrorism, and this idea that you're in a permissive environment and you're going to be able to kind of lock down the surrounding area and go in and conduct what most people probably think of as like a SWAT team style operation. But now these
Mhm.
guys are I mean, this is war. It's like outright warfare in this
Full
city.
blown, yeah, full blown. So it was a major challenge, but they were able to adapt. These guys are very adaptable. No, they were telling me, that the training, the old style dynamic entry. That, no,
Mhm.
dynamic entry. They had to throw it out of the window. No, they had to modify everything, and they proved successful during the Zamboanga crisis.
How did they go about, like we've been saying, fighting a war in an urban environment, but at the same time, they're having to rescue hostages as they push forward? I mean, that's just, I can't think of really a more challenging operational environment.
Definitely, definitely. It was that was why the government couldn't decide what to do, no, during the initial stages. No, they didn't know what to do, and General Pamona came up with the priority. No? He prioritized everything. No, the priority was hostage rescue, and then you take out all those bad guys. No, so it became a priority, hostage rescue, and I think in Zamboanga, uh, I'm probably dwelling in the realm of speculations, no? But from the stories I heard, the rogue elements would leave hostages, no, when it was time for them to vacate because of the advancing forces, no, they left some of the hostages, no. That's why uh, LRCs were able to rescue a lot of hostages. Not only LRCs, but other units as well, no. But the bulk of that was rescued by bulk of those was rescued by LRB. And I don't know how they pulled it off, but it was really a big challenge, no, for any unit, no. You bring it there, and then at the end of the conflict, you have a list of 194 hostages rescued. LRR was able to rescue around 96, and they turned over 116 surrenderies to they were able to turn over, and I forgot how many they took down during that conflict, no. But it was hailed as the one of the most successful hostage rescue mission, no. In fact, General Pamona got a medal from US SOCOM for that, no? From Admiral McRaven. He got a medal for that, for allied partners.
Yeah, and General Pomonik, I mean, I've heard him compared, Filipinos say, he's like our general, or he's like our Admiral McRaven. He's like that big a figure to
Mm,
Philippine Special Operations. And he's a really nice guy too. I've
yes,
always
yes,
enjoyed talking to him. And
yes, yes.
I think the great thing about General Pomonik is that he is all about embracing the spirit of jointness and believes that all of the services and the units need to work together, which
Exactly.
unfortunately in the Philippines, there's a lot of inter-service rivalry between the different units.
Yes, yes.
And he has a vision, for bringing them together. And I guess that's probably what he'll be remembered for, which, I think is really important.
Yes, yes, yes. He's now the undersecretary of one of the departments.
Oh, is he?
Yes, yes, yes. Department of Social Welfare and Development is the undersecretary of that department.
The real thing he was pushing for too was that when we talk about SOCOM, it was just Army SOCOM, and he was
Mm.
pushing for AFP SOCOM that would bring in the Navy and the Marines and Air Force, like the American SOCOM does, and that's in the process of happening now, isn't it?
No, it was implemented.
Oh, I'm sorry. It looks like maybe we lost Francis. I hope he pops up again. Um, oh, there you go. I'm sorry we lost you for
Yeah,
one
yeah,
second, Francis.
yeah,
You were about to talk about AFP SOCOM.
yeah. I think it was implemented like 2 years back, if
Mm-hmm.
I'm not mistaken. So the old Philippine Army SOCOM no longer exists. So we have now an AFP wide SOCOM. No, JSOG now is under SOCOM, but it still gets confusing. No, even if I ask the those from LRR, they still get confused on the new. Very confusing. But basically, during operation, JSOG still handles the LRC component of JSOG. No?
It's no, I'm so glad that they did that. And what was the other? There are some actually some humorous stories about Zamboanga. Like you talked about the big building, the 4-story building that was like the big holdout for the bad guys in Zamboanga,
Yeah, the
and
KGK building.
KGK built, yeah, and they had to go
Yeah.
in and breach the wall. I had never heard that story before.
Again, Jack, can you repeat your
Oh,
question?
could you tell us the story about how they breached the wall to get inside and what happened?
Ah, okay, okay. What are you referring to the first attempt? The first attempt, because there were 4 attempts. Ah, okay. So the first attempt, no, they decided to approach KGK from the rear, no, and several meters, I think probably less than 100 meters. You have there the Zamboanga City Medical Center, no. So what they did, they decided to go through that, no. So they had to they had to breach the wall of the hospital, no, in order to reach the KGK building. So it was like 2 in the morning, so it was really dark, no. So uh they started breaching it, no. And then the first man who entered that breach, no, when he jumped, he landed on a pool of you call it
Like a
what word did it?
sewage pool.
Yes, yes, that's like a body of water filled with sewage materials, no. So everyone followed. So they were like waist deep in sewage water. So they all cursed the breachers for that.
But
Yeah. So
they did eventually end up taking the building though, right?
yeah, after I think after 4 attempts, it was heavily defended. No, it was heavily defended. That was the first attempt. No, so by the time they reached the maybe like 20 meters before the building, they discovered that there was another wall or another structure separating them from the building. So they had to do another breach. And the problem there, it was already like 5 in the morning, so it was getting bright already. So they had to pull out and regroup. So that's what happened. Then the second attempt, they tried to approach it from the side, and I think they had to go through several houses. Again, they were met with heavy resistance, and several were wounded during that attempt. And they had to go back again, plan for another attempt. The third attempt, uh, they were again repulsed. No, the resistance was really heavy. No, I think I posted a video in I think in Facebook. No, that was a third attempt with the Simba. No, you can see there the third LRC assaulting behind the Simba. So
I'll have to take a look. I don't think I've seen it.
I can send you a video of that. No, you can see
Okay.
there you can see there the the platoon sergeants of third LRC in action. No, they were motivating the troops to move forward despite the heavy fire they were receiving. And the fourth attempt, this time led by third LRC, they were able to breach it. No, but by the time they reached the building, it was already abandoned.
It was kind of an anticlimactic moment when they
Yes,
finally
yes,
got in there.
anticlimactic. Yes, correct, correct.
Um, so as you said, they freed most of the hostages, and eventually the city was liberated. Um, but at a cost. There were not very, these units were already under strength. And how many men did they lose in Zamboanga?
They lost 9 operators in Zamboanga.
So that's like 10% of their total force, basically.
Yes, yes. But two of this list were officers. Uh, I think platoon leaders. It was a big loss for the company commanders. No, I think there was a story there where the company commander really broke down when he heard one of his the sniper platoon leader, I think, or assault platoon leader, was killed.
What were some of the big lessons learned that came out of the Zamboanga siege?
Well, I think mostly urban tactics. No, how to deal with the how to thrive in an urban operation. I think LRR learned a lot from that, no? From that experience, which they were able to apply in Marawi. No, that's one of the major lessons learned in Zamboanga. And I think I I think I saw one of the reports. One another thing was lack of equipment. That's one more thing. No? Lack of equipment to properly do their job. No? Because at the time, they were aside from being undermanned, they were under equipped. The equipments they were using were still the same equipment donated given by U.S. forces back in the early 2000s. So they had to they had to live with that.
It's something that I have noticed not just in the Philippines but also with our partner forces in Kurdistan, that the soldiers are good. We train them. Other units train them. These guys are very professional and able to do their job. But being a modern counter-terrorist operative, you need modern weapons, you need night vision devices, all these sorts of things. And if something happens politically, America changes its mind, maybe we don't care about Kurdistan anymore, maybe we're not so interested in the Philippines, like the things that were going on with the Leahy Amendment. There was a period of time, Rubio, one of our politicians, was like cutting funding to the Philippine Special Operations Units because of things going on with the Duterte administration. But my point there is that when we do that, their guns start breaking down, their nods start breaking down, and these units aren't able to effectively do their job anymore because they don't have the ability to maintain some of these high-tech items that we sell them.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Actually, LRR now, they're getting now better equipments now. Slowly they're getting upgrades in their equipment, and which is a good news, no. But so far they haven't been getting equipments they really need, no. I think it has something to do with the FMF package coming from the US government, no. So they're still limited by what the US can give to Philippines.
I think a lot of it got held up because of the allegations against the Duterte administration and the extrajudicial killings. And it's not fair because in the sense it's not fair that the LRR and some of the Philippine Special Operations Units are punished for that because they've kept their hands clean. Like they're not involved in that kind of stuff. They don't want to get involved in it. And just my personal opinion, I support the Leahy Amendment in the sense that I don't think we should give weapons to war criminals. My point is that these units we're talking about, they've been doing the right thing, but they're getting punished anyway, and I think that's really unfortunate.
I agree with you there, Jackie. Definitely agree with you.
So coming out of Zamboanga, I think maybe it's going to take maybe the remainder of the show to talk about Marawi. I left the Philippines in 2017, and we all talked about Zamboanga. That was a conversation I had with Ted and with General Pamonag and others. And then right after I left, Marawi kicks off, and it's like, oh my God. Could you talk about the run up to that, to the rise of ISIS? What were the precursor missions? It was Operation Haraban, I think, 1 through 3.
Yes. There's a story in the book about the first Haribon. No, Haribon is eagle in English. No, so Eagle 1, Haribon Uno. That was the first encounter of LRR, particularly 3rd LRC, with the Mauti group. So that was the first time. No? It was I think 2015 or 16. So that was the first encounter with the Mauti group, and it was followed by Haribon 2, Eagle 2, and Haribon 3, Eagle 3. No, these were all Mauti operations, no? Mauti conflict. Skirmishes against the Mauti group, which became the main force during the Marawi crisis.
And these early operations, it was similar in the sense that, correct me if I don't remember right, but weren't they like taking over the town hall and raising up the ISIS flag over it or something like this?
Yes, exactly. They did it first time in Butig, no, the Butig town hall, the municipal hall, where they raised their flag there, and the LRR recovered, no, they captured, no, ISIS flags, no. So I think that was the first time, no, they saw, no. I mean, that was the first clear proof that that they were affiliated with Daesh.
What was the logic of the Mote group that they were first affiliating themselves with ISIS? How did that happen? And then why did they have this idea about like, hey, we're going to take over a city and raise the flag? Like, what's the point?
It's not very clear, but the Mauti group, according to several researchers, no, it's basically it's a family group, no. It's a big family syndicate, actually, no. uh, they were trained they were trained in the Middle East, no, Indonesia. They went to school in Indonesia. I think the patriarch of the Maute was an MILF engineer, I think, no. So Marawi was really their home turf, no. It was really occupied by the Maute. It's a big clan, and the affiliation with ISIS, I can't recall how it started, no, but uh, ASG, particularly the group of Hapilon, no, swore allegiance to al-Baghdadi. I think in uh, after after Haribon Tres, I think 2000.
Abu Sayyaf group did that?
Yes, Abu Sayyaf.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Yeah, you know, the one of the HVTs killed in Marawi was Isnilon Hapilon, no. He was
Mm-hmm.
the head of the ASG faction in Basilan, no. These are the really radical factions compared to the Sulu, which are, you know, which are usually kidnapped for ransom, no. But these are real, you know, hardcore. So Hapilon, he became the emir of IS in the Philippines. He was appointed by ISIS group in no, by the group of al-Baghdadi. So he got that appointment. He became the emir. No, that's why when they joined forces with Maute, the objective there was to put up a caliphate in central Mindanao, which was Marawi, because Marawi is the Islamic city in the Philippines. Eh. Marawi is the Islamic city, so they wanted to put up a caliphate in Marawi.
Francis, do you think that part of it was that they thought that this was a way to establish their legitimacy? Because back, 2001 or so, Abu Sayyaf group, they had overseas financiers. They had the Saudis through these madrasas who were funding them. All
Yes,
that
yes.
got cut off because because the Filipinos did a good job and, cut a lot of that stuff off and crack down on them.
Mm.
Um, so a lot of them had to then turn to the kidnap for ransom to generate money. Was this whole pledging allegiance to ISIS and this idea that they're going to raise the ISIS flag above town hall, was that an idea to try to attract overseas funding from these groups in Syria or the Gulf states that are funding them?
Well, it's highly probable. It's highly probable because uh, uh, during the months leading to Marawi, no, we discovered. I mean, the Philippine intelligence community, no, security forces discovered the movement of money here in the Philippines, no, particularly Marawi, no. They were using the Western Union, the money transfer facilitation in the Philippines, no. And I think that's a possibility, no, but I can't be sure about that. But you see, Hapilon is really the group in Basilan. They're the really the fundamentalist faction of Abu Sayyaf group, no. So I think uh, that's one reason, no, because of their ideology, their orientation, their philosophy is really to bring back fundamentalism, to introduce fundamentalism in the Philippines. No?
Again, this is like an entire other podcast to get into the history of
Yes,
the
yes,
Philippines, the history of Islam in the Philippines, and
yes, yes.
it's fascinating. Um, but we're gonna have to, I think, move on a little bit because it's just such a big topic. Um, can we talk then about how Marawi kicked off? Because it started with an LRR operation. Could you speak to that a little bit?
Yes. The Marawi siege was kicked off by again another operation to take out an HVT. No, this HVT was Hapilon. No, he was the leader of the Basilan faction of ASG, and during this time he was already the emir of the IS and IS affiliated groups in the Philippines. No, so there was there were several I think attempts, no. There were several intelligence reports on the whereabouts of this guy, and after several attempts, no, this guy was really elusive, so they couldn't pin him down. Finally, this intel report came from naval intelligence. So it was the naval intelligence who furnished uh, the brigade, I think the brigade, and eventually LRC, the intel about this, no. So they receive, I think, the intel evening, and then they had to really plan quickly how to take how to execute it, and they had to execute it in the, I think, in the morning. But the LRC commander there, the LRC involved was fourth LRC. The LRC commander there was apprehensive because there were so many missing details in the intelligence report, no. So these were all the report was according to him, no. The report was full of generalization, so he wanted it to be more definite. And then so he asked the Navy guys, no, if they could bring him to the actual location, no. So he accompanied them, but unfortunately I think the Navy officer refused to enter that area because because of some, that probably he was afraid that they might be discovered there. So in short, Fort LRC entered the, or rather implemented the mission with so many missing details, no, but they had to do it because they were instructed to do it.
It was time sensitive.
Yes, it was very time sensitive, no, because I think the asset there was positive that Hapilon was inside that structure, and which was later on confirmed, no, that it was really the hideout of Hapilon during the time.
And so they decided to execute this operation. They went in there, and it kind of turned into a bit of a mess, didn't it?
Yes, correct. Exactly. Okay, so I don't want to spoil the book, no, but it's okay to no. But so what happened was this, no. So when they arrived there, they tried to breach it using the it was a multi door apartment, no, like
There's
three,
the
I think three,
gate.
yeah, like three, like four main gates, but there were only three apartments, so three doors, but there were four main gates. So that their target was the last gate, last or second to the last gate. So what they did, they tried to breach it using an RPG. So what happened, no? So it made the hole, no. So it was not a successful breach. And the second attempt, they tried the water breaching charge, no.
The water
And
impulse charge. Yeah.
water impulse charge, no. But by the time they did that, no, everyone was already aware that they were there, no. So they entered the structure, and during the first salvo, two operators were hit right away, they were killed, like killed on the spot, no, the two operators. And then so they had to recover because the apartment was filled with, per their estimate, around 25 bad guys, no, or more, no. So it was filled with, they had 7.62 machine guns there. I think they also had 50 calibers there. So Fort LRC had to pull out, no, had to regroup, not pull out, had to regroup. So they stayed outside the apartment door. So they were there for the whole night. I think they were on stronghold position outside the apartment door. And then the support came, no, the armored personnel carriers, no, they started engaging uh, the bad guys. They were all holed up on the second floor. So if you will see the picture, you will see the holes only there at the second floor.
Oh,
There were
really?
no. Yes, yes, yes. I think it's in the. Did I send you the picture?
Oh, I don't know if you did or not. I don't recall seeing that one.
Oh, but it
But
was.
I'll put up some of the other pictures for people to look
Yes,
at.
yes. So if you will see, if you will look at the pictures, no, you will see there the the bullet holes were all on the second floor. The ground floor was clear. There were no bullet marks there, bullet holes. So eventually, after I think they were there for 2 days, 2 days, yeah, 2 days. So by the time they were able to recover the structure, the group of Apilon already left. No, they were able to escape using the rear exit. No, and what's interesting there was that the rear was supposed to be guarded by their supporting effort. Uh, you had their I think you had Navsog, you have Rangers. And I don't know what happened, no. So all of them escaped there, and that was the start. So what happened when they pulled out? It became like so they had to pull out. They had to travel from that area all the way to Campranao, probably a distance of 2 kilometers. According to their description, it was like the operation in Mogadishu when the U.S. forces pulled out from that area to return to that the 10th Mountain Division camp or something.
The soccer stadium.
Yeah, the soccer stadium. Yeah, the scenario was very similar. While they were telling me their stories, no, it was like that. So they had to dismount from the vehicles, no, and they had to secure the route. So it was a long I think it was a long travel. Probably took them 2 or 3 hours.
It just seems like one of those missions where like everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong on that one.
Yes, yes. That's why the title. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh well, I was just gonna say, how did that lead to a full blown urban siege? And I know that there's like some intel they did pick up on the objective. If you could talk a little bit about how
Yes,
all
yes,
that spun up.
yes, yes. The video shown all over the social media. No, the video of the top three HVTs planning. It was recovered during that mission. No, you had their Hapilon, Maute, and the Malaysian guy. They were all there planning. So what happened was, I think this mission preempted the move of this ISIS affiliated group. It preempted them. They were supposed to do it, I think, during Ramadan or after Ramadan. During or after Ramadan, they were supposed to do it. So because of this mission, they had to do it earlier. So there was no sufficient planning on their part. I think they were also caught by surprise by that mission. So it preempted them actually.
So this was already a plan that they had in place.
Yes, yes, they were planning to take over Campranao, the schools there, the government facilities, the water facility, everything. It was it was an entire takeover of the whole Marawi.
And so, how long was it after this initial mission before they started doing that?
Well, they tried to do it right away. They tried to do it. That's why when that mission was happening, LRR back and forth Magsaysay was already organizing their movement, no. So they were already organizing their movement, and that's why when you look at the storyline of Marawi during after that mission, there were several incidents where this group tried to occupy several structures, schools. They burned churches after that mission. So they all came out. They all came out, and fortunately, government forces were there. You had their infantry units, you had their the police, you had their mechanized units, so they were able to somehow hold that advance, so able to prevent the spread of that group.
And how did now from Zamboanga to Marawi, now we have 6 LRCs. How did they? What was the response?
What do you mean? What was the response?
From the LRR? I mean, how did they mobilize, get in there, and begin fighting back?
Okay. So the first to move was 6th and 3rd LRC together with the sniper platoon of 5th LRC. At that time, 5th LRC was the counter assault team of the presidential security group. 5th LRC, where your friend is used to be the commanding officer. So they were at Malacanang, so they had to pull out the sniper platoon and bring that platoon to Marawi together with 2nd and 6th LRC. So that was their movement. Then after that, they were followed by 3rd LRC together with the command element of LRR. I mean, they brought the entire commander, even the regiment commander. And the final LRC to arrive was 1st LRC. So that was their order of movement.
And you talk about in the book how I don't have a map of Marawi in front of me right now, but I guess the city is bisected by a river, and there's only 3 bridges going across.
Yes. You have their uh, Bayaba, what's the name? Bangolo, Bayabao, Mapandi, and I forgot the other bridge. There were 3 bridges separated by a stream or a river.
And this became like as you say, a fatal funnel, right? It became a very difficult area for them to traverse and push deeper into the city.
Correct. That was the initial decision of JSOC there, no, during that time. That was the initial move. No, I think they decided to cross that in order, I think, to reach, no, if I'm not mistaken, in order to reach the trap M135. I think there was a trap M135 somewhere. So they had no choice but to cross that bridge, that Bangolo bridge. They had to cross it. So the company to cross that bridge was first 6 LRC. And well, that picture that's Camp Ranao.
That's what?
That's Camp Ranao.
Right. And this was where the snipers were up in here, right?
Yes. That's where they got their longest kills, from that area. So anyway, going back, so the first to cross was 6 LRC. So when they entered the structure, no, the first structure on the left, it's a green building, no, it was filled with with bad guys. So they stayed there for several days, like I think 4 days, 5 days, because they were surrounded. So that's why 3rd LRC had to reinforce them. That was their story. So it was quite an experience, according to some of their members, no, when I interviewed them, and they lost to one assaulter there and 1 officer during that assault.
Yeah, it sounded, the way you described it in the book, like they were taking a lot of fire and they're having a lot of difficulty moving deeper into the city. And I guess the problem was that they didn't really have mutually supporting, like a unified assault line across the city because of those bridges.
Yes. It limited their advance. That's why they called it a fatal funnel. Imagine, you can stop an entire battalion. You can stop an entire battalion through that bridge. Nobody would be able to cross it if those ISIS guys really decided to make a stand. Nobody could cross that.
So how did they begin making progress? How did they overcome this challenge?
Well, they decided another approach. No, they decided to take another approach. It was the it was the concept made by then commander of LRR, no, General Macario is now retired. So it was his idea to to approach to outflank them, no, to approach from the other side, no, like an encircling maneuver. So in a way, they would bypass those three bridges, and it became the movement, no, of the entire of AFP until the end of Marawi. That became their axis of advance. I think it was shown in the map. The map I attached in the book. There was a map
Yeah,
there.
I'd have to pull it up, and I'm sorry I don't have it here where the houses are all numbered and everything. So yeah, if you read the book, it's much clearer in there. I posted the link in the chat, and I'll put it down in the description after we're done here. Again, the book is Tiradores, and we're here with the author tonight. If you're just joining us, Francis Villanueva. He wrote a whole history about the Light Reaction Regiment that we're discussing tonight. So back to Marawi. Let's get into the snipers a little bit, because there's a lot of interesting stories there with the sniper elements getting deployed down to Marawi, the interaction with MARSOC guys who were down there, and kind of like how all of that kind of fit together. I thought that was very intriguing.
Yeah, yeah. The 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 major character there in Marawi, one of the major characters there, if you will recall, is Golf 3, no. So he had this concept of when the Marawi crisis broke out, he had this concept of creating a regiment level sniper task group, no. Because usually snipers are usually embedded with the companies, no. Each company, they have their own sniper platoon, no. So these sniper platoons, they move closely with the assault platoons, no. So per observation of Golf 3, he noticed that, you know, because of the layout of Marawi, no, the layout, there was they were limited, no. Those snipers were limited. Uh, they were severely limited, no, because of the proximity, you know, proximity. So they really had to move back. So that's why Goldsby came up with this concept. Uh, they would stay far from the battle area so they could observe, and from there they could interdict and suppress targets, which I think proved very effective during the crisis, no. And nobody knows actually what they did, no. Even within LRR, even within the companies, nobody knew what they did until you read the book, because they
Yeah,
were just there. They were
yeah,
just
yeah.
there.
The book tells so many stories that I knew nothing about, or even things that I knew I was superficially aware of, but I didn't know any of the details until I read your book.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so what were some of the more impressive shots that you came across when you were interviewing these guys?
What do you mean, sniper shots?
Yeah, because they were setting up hide sites in different places, and
Well, actually, a lot, especially no, in the early stages, you would see there. It was all over social media. The one the technical they engage. No, it was all over when it happened. Like after a few hours, it was all over Facebook. I saw that, and at that time, I didn't know it was fifth LRC. No, until I was writing the book, I realized it was fifth LRC. No, during the early, like, first few days of Marawi, that they were there straight from Malacanang, from the Presidential Security Group. They were transported there, and that one, and you also have the crossing. there were, I think that involves the 20 bad guys trying to cross the streets, no, and the sniper task group were
Yeah,
waiting.
yeah.
They were waiting. They were waiting for them. So it was like turkey shoot according to them. And the most impressive, I think, was the long distance shots, because the weapon used was not in the AFP's inventory. So they,
The gun that it's called the LRC member nicknamed it Wintermelon
yeah,
after you told me it was a type of tea.
it's a milk tea. It's a milk tea flavor in the Philippines, and it was very impressive because first, we do not have that in the inventory. Second, uh, they got to train with that, with a similar system with another allied partner when they were doing cross training with an allied partner. So that was their exposure. There was no actual training, like long-term training with that weapon.
So, Francis, stop beating around the bush here. What kind of weapon was it, and where did this thing come from that the LRC got to grab this thing up and use it in combat?
Jack, you're spoiling the book.
No, this isn't in the book. You didn't say.
Yeah, it's inside. Do I have to say it here?
It's up to you. I don't mind.
Okay. Well, the book was. I mean that rifle was borrowed from the Marsok team.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it was a Winmag 300 Winmag from the Marsok team, and Gold 3 had to beg. No, when they went to Camp Ranao, when they decided to.
Here you go.
Yes, yeah. That picture is in Camp Ranao. Yeah, when they decided to, because the I think it was in August or late August. Gold 3 and his group realized, that they were no longer seeing bad guys there, and they noticed that, like, there were several what you call it, several like galvanized steel, plywood, blocking crossings,
Mm-hmm.
blocking intersections. So the bad guys were using it to cross, no. So they were using it as a cover to cross. So from their hide, they couldn't see anything. So they decided to transfer to Camp Ranao to see what was happening. And then from Camp Ranao, they saw all the movements, no. They saw all the movements of the bad guys using those crossings, those covered crossings. And at that distance, like more than a kilometer, no, there was no weapon. Yeah, but I think the according to Golf 3, 762 could still reach that, no, for their training. But the limitation there was the scope. The scope was the limitation there. And they needed to be precise. And then I think Golf 3 checked with his counterpart, no. I think it's from an Oda. He checked if they have a weapon system that could reach that distance, no. And then he was referred to this Marsok guys.
And so they got a little loan me gun out there.
Yes,
on the two-way range.
Yes, and some targeting equipment.
And how did the 300 Win Mag work out for those guys?
Oh, they described this as like laser. Yeah,
Yeah. So like people who don't know, I mean, most sniper rifles, the SR-25s they had, the M24s, they fire the 7.62 round, which is a good round. But once you get out to a kilometer, it gets a little iffy. I mean, especially with wind and environmental factors. Mm-hmm. With the 300 Win Mag, it's a bigger. It's like the bullet's like that big, and it has a much flatter trajectory. So it's really like a freight train just heading down range. And as you write about, Francis, these guys were able to reach out and touch some bad guys at, like, how far out were they killing these dudes?
Almost 1.2 kilometers, almost, and it's in pitch black condition. They never use it during daytime. They only use it from they start their interdiction duty from 6 p.m. until 5 a.m. the next morning. So it was all night activity.
And I also thought it was interesting how many of the sniper engagements were coordinated fires. So there were like 3 snipers, and there was a controller that was like giving them the like ready, fire. You know, when they were all on target.
Exactly. That was the uh, one of the ideas of Goal 3 to establish that coordination between snipers from different hides. No, they can be independent, but when required to do something specific, they all work as one team, one group. Imagine you have their 16 snipers all working together. I mean, that's an unbeatable combination. Imagine.
Now, on that note, though, I want to ask you, Francis, just your thoughts on it, having done so much research. I think that in Marawi, and I think you can make the same argument for many of the urban battles in Syria, that we've seen, perhaps you could describe it almost as an over-reliance on snipers. And that's my opinion, but I think there's a reason for it. And I think that if those forces in those battles had access to more indirect fires, like artillery and mortars and airstrikes, that you would not see the reliance on snipers that you have seen in some of these recent battles.
Yes. The situation in Marawi, is kind of tricky, because you have there was a need to not to destroy the area,
Mm-hmm.
Eventually it happened, like most of the structures there were destroyed, but initially the instruction there was try to preserve as much as possible the structures. That's why like LRR, they had to rely heavily on their sniper task group. No, they didn't want to just order indirect fire on the structure, because eventually the owners of that, the residents of Marawi would eventually bear the brunt of that
That's true too.
of that action.
And what is the composition of the Filipino Air Force? Because as I recall, they don't really have a lot of ground capability to drop bombs.
Well, I'm not an expert on that, but they also played the big role in Marawi, close air support, they played a big role there, but of course not as high tech as Western nations, but they did with they made do with what they have, with what they had during the time, and I think they prove effective, considering the limited equipment, and training that they have.
Yeah, no, I don't mean to take cheap shots at the Filipino pilots or anything like that. I was just saying that, I mean, the Philippines doesn't have like F-16s and things like this, right?
No, we don't have that. I think we're still planning to get some, but I don't know. I'm not an expert to comment on those stuff, Jack.
Yeah, no, I understand. So the snipers are out there, they're doing God's work. The LRCs are slowly pushing forward. Do we want to talk about the Grand Mosque? Because that was like kind of the next, like the central engagement of Marawi, wasn't it?
Yes, the Grand Mosque was one of the two major objectives of the AFP during Marawi, So the Grand Mosque was it's known as the Islamic Center, I think it's a place of study, and at that time there were 3 LRCs, around Grand Mosque, so while the two LRCs were planning, The third LRC, not it's the actually sixth LRC. The two other LRCs were first LRC and fourth LRC. No? So the sixth LRC, because of their aggressive commanding officer, Azrael, who was a West Point graduate, very aggressive guy. So what he did when he asked his boys if they could take it, because it was just like 5 meters across from their position. So they decided to just clear the structure, and they requested for support from the two other companies, and they were able to clear it in a matter of very quickly. Uh, because in Marawi, the six LRC was really known to be very aggressive and very efficient, in clearing structures. It's a well documented fact during Marawi, and they were able to clear it in probably 1 hour, and the first and the second floor, and there were no hostages. So it was partially abandoned when they took over it. And then we have the other major objective, the Bato Mosque. They call it Bato Mosque. Uh, that was one major engagement, and 6 LRC lost an operator there, and it took them 2 attempts to get it. And wait, going back to Grand Mosque, when they were able to, I think when President Duterte visited Marawi, that was the day when 6 LRC took Grand Mosque, and that's why AFP was able to report to Duterte that they were able to get one of the major objectives of the battle. And now going back to Bato Mosque, it was it took them 2 attempts to get Bato Mosque, and it was surrounded. It was surrounded by structures filled with insurgents. So it was really a tough one.
This picture is really interesting. Could you
Which
tell
one?
us I'm going to put it up right now. Could you tell us what's going on in this picture right here?
Oh, that one is the final battle, no? Where that's the hide. That's the final hide of the sniper task group.
Mm-hmm.
You will see there on the right. That's Golf 3, no?
Okay.
On the left is one of his senior snipers there. So they were engaging the remnants of this group. They decided to make a final stand it's like a mosque. They all stayed at the basement. So they decided to make a final stand there. So this was the battle. The battle at this one was, I think, building 1010 or 1018. Maybe I'm getting confused. And the target was at the other building about 70 meters away. So all the bad guys were under the basement. And if you will read the story there, it was a it was another turkey shoot for them.
So as we're getting into the final battle too of Morrowind, the story, it had been, I knew it as a rumor, I guess you could say, that the LRR killed HVT number 1. What's his face? Pilason?
Hapilon.
Thank you.
Hapilon.
Do you want to talk about that at all, Francis, or do you think we should leave that for the book if people want to go and read it?
No, I think it's all over. Well, it was all over social media when it happened, no, and everyone was taking credit, no, and
yes,
yeah, everyone was taking credit, and what Golf 3 instruction to, because Golf 3 was the highest ranking officer there in Marawi, no, for the LRR, he was the ranking senior officer there on inside the main battle area. So he specifically told this man, no posting social media, no posting after that takedown of HVT number 1 and 2. So all the while they kept quiet. And if you read the book, you will see there was a fact finding, like investigation or something. If you read the book, so they officially the army officially came up with a acknowledgement of who really shot HVT1 and HVT2, and it was supported by forensic evidence conducted by the police, no, PNP. And I think it settled the story. Who really took down those two, and it's in the book. I don't want to spoil the.
Yeah, like I said, I had heard the rumors about it, but I had never heard the full story until I read it in your book actually earlier today. Um,
Mm,
it's definitely, like I said, this book is definitely worth a read. And I think that the people who watch this show, people who are interested in special operations and special operations history are really
yes, yes,
missing out if they're not going to go and read your book.
yes, yes.
Um, no, go, Francis. There's something else you wanted to say there?
Did you read about the story about the Chinese rifle?
Yes.
That also became very controversial. No, that
Yeah.
Chinese, yeah, Chinese rifle. No, well, when it came, I think it was wanted to use it. Nobody wanted to use it in the AFP. And when Gulf 3 heard about that Chinese rifle was at Fort Magsaysay, he told this one of his junior, you conduct zero and then send it to Marawi and we'll do field zeroing here. So that's what they did. No, they came up with a card for that, and they immediately used it, no, as a backup, because I think one of their SR-25s broke down. And
Because the guns have been around, they've been using them continuously since like
yes, yes,
2002.
yes, yes, yes. And one of the SR-25, I think, broke down, and it's a good thing the Chinese rifle was there. And that rifle was able to, I think it got 3 kills, no, uh, got 3 kills. Then after that, I think the AFP got it back, and I don't know what they did with that, no. And there was also a story, a story that the Chinese rifle was used to take down HVT1 and HVT2. I think there was a news before, here in the Philippines, no, the Chinese rifle was used. Well, that that's not true. It was really an American rifle, SR-25, that was used to take down HVT1 and HVT2. And I think Gulfstream made it clear, when President Duterte visited LRR, he told me he told the president that those were the guns that took down HVT1, HVT2, finally settling the issue of what really took down HVT1 and HVT2.
And you wrote in the book that that Chinese rifle, a Norinco sniper rifle, that Duterte gave it to Premier Xi
Xi
as,
Jinping. Yeah, yeah. I
yeah,
think, yeah. I think it was given as a gift, no. Uh, Probably to show that it was used during Marawi. And no, this rifle, it's still being used in LRR, no. They've been hitting targets at 1 kilometer consistently using this rifle.
really.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. They've been using it, and I think they were able to maximize the. But I think the problem there is the suppression. It doesn't have a capability to be suppressed. No, that's one limitation.
And
But
I'm glad you brought this up too, because this plays into the Philippines kind of being trapped in between the United States and China. That
mm,
our government is saying at the moment, hey, we're not going to give these weapons to the Philippines because there's some human rights issues going on. The
Mm,
Chinese are like, we don't care. We'll give you what, like America doesn't want to play. Hey, here we come. And
yeah,
they
yeah.
gave this big weapon shipment to the Philippines during the Morrowind crisis. And it was like this big PR coup for the Chinese. They did the same thing in Italy with the coronavirus. They sent all these doctors over there and they're like Chinese flags everywhere. They're like, oh, look what a great job we're doing. Hey, we're here to help.
And these guys, they don't care about politics, no. Whatever is there, they'll take it, they'll use it, no, to increase their lethality, to make them more efficient. They don't care
Yeah,
about
yeah.
politics.
No, I don't blame the soldiers for, they have to do whatever they have to do
Yes,
to
exactly.
get the job done.
Yeah.
Um, so that final battle, and how does that final battle end? The LRR crushes whatever's left of ISIS Philippines.
Yeah, I mean, wait, I'll go over my record, but the final,
Mm-hmm.
wait, I'll go over that.
So yeah, while you find the records, guys, I just want to thank everyone joining us live tonight. Thanks for watching the show. Please remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that little bell icon so you get notified when we go live next time. And give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you think we suck. Leave some comments for us. Tell us what you think we could be doing better, what you like, what you don't like. And there's also a link to our Patreon down below if you're interested in supporting the show financially. We really appreciate that.
Okay, Jack, I have now the.
Okay.
Okay,
What do you got
so
for us?
the final battle lasted for 5 days, no, nonstop, 24 hours. So after that final battle, no, at building 1010, uh, the STG group had 32. No, because there were three sniper groups deployed during the time. There was the STG using that hide. There was the second LRC snipers, and then you have the third LRC snipers. So that group, STG, they got 32 in that final battle. The second LRC got 22, while third got 10. Now, if you will add the 32 of STG to their previous hides, no, I think they got a total of almost 100 confirmed kills. No,
Wow.
about 80% of these were at night. So this was done using SR-25, because they stopped using M24, because the M24 they had during the time for cannot be fitted with a suppressor, so they limited their use to like SR-25. So these were done using SR-25s and 3 kills from the Chinese with the Win Mag.
Mm-hmm. And so that was it. I mean, the Morrowind siege, I mean, it drug on overall. How long did it drag on for? Like 3 months?
No, 5 months.
5 months. Good God.
Yeah, 5 months from May to from last week of May up to last week of October. So
And
for 5 months.
and I remember they brought General Pomonik down and put him in charge again, didn't they?
Yes, he became the task force commander of I think Taris Marawi. He became the head of that, no, to unify the effort there.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's an incredible story. I mean, let's go back to the question: were there any big lessons learned from the Morrowind siege?
Well, tactically speaking, a lot, no. About tactics, no. We learned a lot, no. The big surprise there was I was just talking the other day to an EOD who was deployed in Marawi, and man, the IEDs encountered there were really, the techniques, no, the how they manufactured that came from came from Syria, Iraq. So they were really surprised with the amount of IEDs there scattered all over the area. And I think the big lesson there, no. Again, we go back to the tactics in urban warfare, close quarter combat, no. Even LRR had a hard time during the time, close quarter combat, and they were complaining. Most of them were complaining that they couldn't see the enemy. They couldn't see the bad guys, no. Like when you usually think about close quarter battles, you would see their room engagement. In Marawi, it didn't happen. That was not the case. Bad guys would run the moment they see assaulters about to enter structures. No, they would vacate the place, and they would use tunnels, subterranean tunnels, holes in between houses. The usual stuff. So it was really a big challenge, no, and
Do you think that after the LRR and AFP really gave these guys the business in Marawi, do you think the Motte group could ever launch an attack like this again?
well, personally, I think it will take some time, no, to mount another event like this. It will take time. I think they really lost that conflict, and intelligence efforts now are really on top of things now,
Mm-hmm.
and everything is being monitored now, very strict, especially with the passing of that anti-terrorism law in the Philippines.
Well,
So,
what was that law? What does it do?
well, it's about it's an old law, but it was amended. No, I'm not actually familiar with the specifics. No, but it's the procedure, no, the legal procedure on how to indict, no, and prosecute, no, terrorists, no, those found to be involved in terrorist activities. So it's more on the legal process.
Okay. So I have a couple questions here from viewers. One of them, Andrew asks, was the Philippine constabulary he was talking about with non-civilian police? I think that was earlier when we were talking about
Yes, yes.
the
Formation of LRC. Yeah, correct. What was the question?
I think he was talking about back in the old days when the police and the military were not necessarily separated. And
Correct.
he's asking about the constabulary force.
Yes, that you used to call that Philippine Constabulary. That's correct.
And let's see, what else do we have here? General Krang, thank you, sir. T-Bar, what type of fire support did the LRR have available to them? I saw what looked like a 60 millimeter a mortar in one picture. Did they have aviation or arty available?
You mean just for LRR or for the entire?
I think he's probably talking about Marawi. If they had that kind of fire support available.
Yes, definitely. We had their artillery, we had air support, close air support, and artillery. Then we had like specifically the sniper task group. They had their own mortar. They had their own mortar team, to conduct indirect fire.
And there are some pretty good stories in Francis's book about using mortar fire to suppress the enemy. Actually, when there's an enemy sniper and they called in mortar fire, that was a good story.
Yes.
Carlos, glad you're finally on, Attorney Francis. Thanks for featuring this book, Jack. Hope you feature more PH special operations stuff as it becomes available. And I will keep supporting on Patreon. Thank you, Carlos. I'm all about it. I love the Filipino units. I think what they're doing is fascinating. They won me over, so to speak, when I went over there and met those guys. So again, that's why I'm so happy that Francis was able to write this book and rightly credit these guys and the sacrifices that they made. Speaking of which, Francis, how many men did LRR lose in Marawi?
In Marawi, they lost 12 12 operators in a span of 5 months.
So, I mean, it could have been much worse, I suppose, given the intensity of the fighting.
Yes, 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 yes.
But still, I mean, 12 men in a small unit is quite high.
Yes, yes.
So, Francis, I should have asked this really at the beginning of this stream rather than at the very end. But sometimes I make mistakes as an interviewer. I wanted to ask you, if you could tell us a little bit about the human beings behind this unit. Like, who are the guys who join the LRR? What are they like as people? Why do they end up in a elite military unit like this?
Wait, I'm losing you, Jack. Can you repeat the
Yeah,
last
yeah. I
portion?
was just asking if you could tell us a little bit about the men of the LRR. Like, what type of person joins this unit? What are they like?
Well, you have to be first. You have to be adrenaline junkie, no. Uh, for an individual, no, male individual to enter LRR, he has to be at least Ranger qualified or Special Forces qualified. So that's a non-negotiable requirement. And but that doesn't automatically mean that they will be included in LRR. No, before they can go through selection, they have to. I think they have to have an experience of 2 years as Ranger and as SF qualified. No, and the training, to become a Ranger is in itself really, you know I think you've heard stories about the Scout Ranger training in the Philippines. No, it's really
And the test missions. That's one thing the Philippines does that we don't have in America.
yes, yes,
The final exam is a combat operation.
yes. In Marawi, they deployed I think several test mission classes. No, the Scout Ranger deployed class 200 and
Oh
class
my
200
God.
and class 201, and the Special Forces, the one undergoing the Special Forces operations course, they deployed also, I think, several classes there. I think one or several. So I mean, before they become full-fledged scout, before they can become full-fledged scout rangers or special forces, they have to survive these missions. And even without Marawi, they still go on test missions. No, like 1 month, sometimes 1 month in an actual operation, in an actual AO. And some, at times, they some of them do not return,
Yeah.
alive. And they they get the Ranger Special Forces Tab Posthumous. And so you have to be an SF or SR to be an LRR. And then you have to undergo 2 years before you can be admitted for selection. Either 2 years as a member of an LRC and of an LRC as a support guy, and then you can go to selection. And selection is another story. And I heard from a recent uh, candidate there. No, I interviewed him personally. He told me, "Sir, I would rather go through SR South than go through LRR selection." So it's really that difficult. I think they really made it tougher now. No, I think they patterned it after the Australian counterpart.
Of the SAS selection.
Yes, 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 the selection.
Uh, Andrew's asking, can you speak more generally about the Filipino perception of the U.S. military?
Oh, that's a very, very that's a very broad question. No?
Yeah.
About the U.S. military, we're Philippine military is basically patterned after U.S. military. Basically, we're patterned after them, and then uh, what can I say? What can I say about that?
I'll kick it off, Francis. If you want to understand the relationship between the Filipino military and the U.S. military, go to the cemetery in Manila, where you see the Filipino and the American soldiers are buried together from World War II.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it's really an incredible experience, and our relationship goes back a long time, and it can't be broken by any one American president or any one Filipino president. We're very tight with them.
Exactly, precisely. Very deep relationship.
Yeah, and like you said, there have been guys who go to our special forces training, who go to West Point. Um,
Mm.
we do so much cross training. What is the yearly exercise? Balakatan?
Well, there's a lot actually, several. No, Balikatan is the I think it's the general exercise,
Mm-hmm.
but then you have unit specific exercises. No, uh, like before, no, as I can recall, the exercise is specific for SFG, first SFG and LRR. I think was vector balance piston. If I recall it correctly, no, and there's also balance piston. Then you have a lot, no, a lot of exercises.
Um, Francis, if I can twist your arm a little bit to stay with us for a bonus segment afterwards for like 10, 15 minutes, I have just
Yeah,
other
sure.
couple anecdotes or little short stories from your book I'd like to hear about. Um, but before we get going here on this episode tonight, I mean, any final thoughts about your book that you'd like to say? Anything about the LRR, future projects that you'd like to tell us about?
Well, first, Jack, I want to thank you for this time. No, it's really an opportunity to push the book. No, especially in the Filipino community abroad. No, in the States. No, a lot of Filipinos there. No, and the book is all about, it's not about politics. It's all about,
Mm-hmm.
patriotism. No, love for the country. And these guys, they usually, if without the stories, they usually end up as numbers, statistics.
Right.
So I mean, this book is my way of, giving alternative to that option. No, they're not just statistics; they're humans. No, they have feelings. No, they have families. They have all the problems we have. So I'm hoping that through this book, no, I would be able to show the readers, no, that side of the men of LRR. And I'm happy to say that I was able to come up with this book, and I'm very privileged, no, to have been given this chance, no, by the regiment to write something about them. But of course, no, protecting their operational security, personal security, those were the major considerations. And I think it turned out okay. And I wish more people would look into the book and see for themselves, no, what that the Philippines has this light reaction regiment, no, ready to defend, no, the country from foreign and internal domestic threats, no. Uh, that's it, Jack. Thank you again for this time. No, it's an honor, Jack. Thank you.
Yeah, no, likewise, Francis. I can only reiterate what you said. It's an honor for me to be able to hear these stories about our Filipino partners, and I will take any opportunity to better inform Americans or anyone else out there about our partners and our friends over in the Philippines. People should know about them, the
Yes,
sacrifices
yes.
they make,
Mm.
and that sometimes we have in the States, we can get like a negative feeling about the foreign groups that we work with, the foreign militaries. The green on blue incidences in Afghanistan where we
Yes,
train
yes, yes,
guys and then they shoot
yes,
our soldiers.
yes,
That,
yes, yes.
that that's not what's happening in the Philippines. It's a
No, 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 no,
totally different environment.
no. Far from
Um,
that.
Far from that, and we have some really strong allies and friends in the region, and I just want American citizens to understand that and know that these are endeavors that are worth supporting.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you for that, for those words.
Absolutely. So next episode, next Friday, we're going to be talking to Ken Miller. Ken was a WERP in Vietnam, a WERP Ranger, the Long Range Reconnaissance Patrols, and then he was in the Ranger companies also when they transitioned over. So Ken Miller is the real deal. I'm very excited to talk to him, and that'll be next Friday. And like I said at the beginning of this show, Dave and I will post up a message. He wants to record a short video for you guys this week, so we'll have that for you on the channel as well. So thank you, Francis. Thank you, everyone who joined us tonight, and we will see you next week.